Hi everybody, it's Peter Bird here from Optimal Nutritional Excellence, or ONE. This is the second part of a 5-part vlog that I'm doing on the cornerstones of unwellness. I have done a previous one which was released last week on inflammation. So localized inflammation and systemic inflammation. Today I'll be talking about insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance and systemic inflammation, they go hand in hand. So you have systemic inflammation, you're going to have insulin resistance. You have insulin resistance, you'll be having systemic inflammation. What is insulin? Insulin is a hormone. It's released by an organ called the pancreas. It's released by part of the pancreas called the beta cells. You don't really need to know this. It's just me showing you that I sort of know what I'm talking about. So the beta cells release insulin, and the alpha cells, they release another hormone called glucagon. Glucagon responds as blood sugar gets lower. Glucagon is released, taps on the cells to release fuel back into the system to bring the blood glucose level back up, or the fuel system back up to a sort of a normal range. All food is eventually broken down to glucose. Glucose is the fuel of the body. As glucose levels rise in the blood, or fuel levels, we'll call it fuel, as the blood glucose fuel level rises in the blood, the body responds to that by sending out this hormone called insulin. Insulin is a messenger, or a hormone is a messenger. It goes along to all the cells, to the liver cells and to all the muscle cells, knocks on the doors and says, we have a delivery of glucose, we've got excess, and so you need to be able to store some. The insulin is like the key, if you like, to that door. Unlocks the door, lets the glucose in until the level in the blood comes down to a normal range again. And that's the process. And as the glucose gets burnt up, that's what it's fuel, it gets burnt up by the body. As glucose levels drop, then as I said before, there's this other hormone called glucagon that gets squirted out, and that's another key, and that unlocks the cell and lets a bit of fuel back out into the system and to keep it all nice and in balance. And that's a healthy, normal system. As we develop adipose or fat cells, and we do that by having excess fuel coming in, or excess food, or excess calories coming into our bodies. What the body does is it sends out in comes the fuel, and it gets broken down, it goes into the bloodstream, up goes the blood glucose levels as more fuel goes in there. The insulin's sent out, knocks on the door of the cells and says, we've got glucose here. Those cells go, we're full, we can't take any more, sorry. What the body does is then turn the glucose into fat. And then if you keep having excess calories and excess food coming in, those fat cells only can get so big. One of the things they do is, as insulin comes knocking saying we've got more glucose here for you to store away as fat, they say no. Sorry. Don't like saying no, but I'm saying no because we're full. We can't take any more. So the body's response is to pour out more and more insulin. So what happens is that message of please store fuel becomes louder and louder. The amount of insulin in the blood increases, and that in itself is inflammatory, by the way. That in itself is disease causing. And so excess insulin can be poured out as long as there's excess nutrition coming in, excess glucose coming in, excess calories coming in, and as long as there's excess fat on the body. So that process just keeps happening. What happens is that process can happen for decades before it presents as eventually body can no longer produce enough insulin to store away the glucose in the blood, and then your blood glucose levels start to go above normal, and you go to the doctor and you get a blood test, and they'll say, look, you're either pre-diabetic, which is just over the top of the normal range consistently, or you're diabetic, which means that those blood glucose numbers are quite high. And there's a test that they do, it's called an HbA1c test. Excess blood glucose or excess insulin is disease causing. The body is under a degree of stress when it's pouring out excess glucose. The body is under stress when it's pouring out excess insulin. It's trying its very best to balance the system that's unbalanced. So what do we do about it? Well, by now you probably know what I'm going to say. We need to get back to focusing on nutrition. We need to get back to looking at the types of food that we're eating. And what we know from an evidence-based perspective is that the typical Western diet, high in ultra-processed foods, high in animal protein, is a disease-causing diet. We eat too much of it. What happens is that as we eat more and more of the typical Western diet, we put on body fat, our insulin levels rise, and we become insulin resistant. And we become systemically inflamed, and we get insulin resistance. And then over time, of course, that presents as disease. So what we need to do is focus back on the nutrition, move ourselves away from the typical Western diet, down to the end of the spectrum where we are moving towards a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. The closer you get to that end of the spectrum, the healthier you're going to be. What tends to happen is as you provide the body the nutrients it needs, it becomes nutrient sufficient. Nutrient density happens. So all those cells in your body, the 40 trillion cells in your body, they get the nutrients they need. They aren't high in processed foods. They're not high in animal products. They're not high calorie foods. They are a food that can go into the stomach and fill you up and provide a nutrient-dense lifestyle that enables your body then to start losing weight. And as you start losing weight, then the insulin resistance issue starts to resolve itself. The systemic inflammation issue starts to resolve itself, and we come back into this balance again. In fact, if you are eating predominantly a whole food plant-based diet, and 90% of your diet is whole food plant-based, or if you're 100% plant-based, you generally don't have to be concerned about your weight. Your body will just come down like a plane coming into land to its natural weight. All you have to focus on is eating lots and lots of color, lots of diversity of plants, 35 to 40 a week ideally, and making sure that it's tasteful and that you are enjoying what you're eating. You know, that's what it's about. Hopefully that's been useful to you. That's the second pillar of presentations I'm going to do. There's 3 more that I'll be covering over the next 3 weeks. The next one will be DNA mutation. The 4th one will be telomere destruction. The 5th one will be on microbiome dysbiosis or the gut. As always, it's great to see you. I'm hoping that your day is going as well as mine. Good eating. See you later. Hi everybody. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you could like and subscribe, that would mean a great deal to me. It means that we can get the message out a lot wider, and that's my mission, is to be able to provide simple, clear, concise nutritional information and deliver it in a way that's understandable and usable.